Hi, I'm Candy Glendening.
I'm Candy Glendening, her 12-year-old son who is going to be entering 7th grade this week.
Okay, and what's on your head?
Professor Brownie!
Hello, Professor Brownie.
He will be helping us today.
He will be helping us today. I am an art quilter.
Aquartist, if you will.
Yes, I'm a quartist. And I dye all the fabrics that I use in my art quilts. I also dye pretty much everything else that I can, right?
Yep.
So,
as you can see by the aprons.
Aprons, shirts, you name it.
Heck, she's tie-dyed my socks once.
I did. So anyways, what are we going to do today?
Today we're going to be making an ombre dye pillowcase.
An ombre dye pillowcase. So let's get started. All right, so Logan, what do we need for this project?
Well, we're going to need a pillowcase and 6 safety pins. I'm pretty sure you can see them on over here.
Okay, so is this any old pillowcase?
No, this is not any old pillowcase. It's a 100% cotton pillowcase.
Where did we get our pillowcase?
We got it from dharmatrading.com.
Okay, so dharmatrading.com, what kind of place is that?
Well, it's a kind of fabric-y store thingy where you buy
Is it a website?
Yeah, it is a website.
Can we buy like all the dyeing supplies from them too?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so we could get the pillowcases from dharmatrading.com, but could we get them other places too?
We could, just as long as you could find a 100% cotton one. They would probably have one at like any old department store. You just have to check the tag.
Check the tag for what?
For the polyester cotton content.
And we want what?
We want 100% cotton.
Okay, now how come?
Because cotton absorbs the dye. If Professor Brownie was a dye and this was a polyester pillowcase, he'd go pa-choo! Flying into space.
All right, so fiber reactive dyes work with cotton, but not polyester.
Yes, but since Brownie would be a dye on a cotton pillowcase, he'd get nice and absorbed, and we have a brownie color pillowcase.
Awesome. Okay, so is there anything we have to do to the pillowcase before we get started?
Yes, we have to pre-wash it, so that way it's all clean.
It's clean and any sort of
pollutant doesn't...
Well, sometimes manufacturers put some sort of like starch or sizing in the fabric, so we want to get rid of that. Okay, so now what do we do to our pillowcase?
Oh, we have to fold it in half. We have to make sure it hits the big seam at the end and then goes over. You know, kind of like when you're folding paper in school and you have to cut something for a project.
Okay.
It's never perfect because no one can ever get the ends to match up perfectly.
Okay.
But as you can see here, we have it pretty much matched.
All right, so you fold it in half and then what?
We fold it into quarters.
Okay.
Some people know this as the hot dog fold.
Okay.
Because it's a giant hot dog. No, no.
Okay, so now what do we do?
Oh, we just take our fingers, or in this case Brownie, and just go swoop, swoop.
All right, what does the swooping do?
Oh, well, as you can see here, once I fold it, there are creases in here, and that swoop makes the lines, the creases, show up.
All right, why do we need the creases?
So that way we can put the dyes into their respective quadrants, because this is ombre dye.
And so what is ombre dyeing?
Ombre in French means shade. So we would have the color go from dark to lighter to no color at all.
Okay, so we're going to divide the pillow into 4 quarters. We're going to make finger creases to see the lines, and then we're going to mark these lines with what?
The safety pins.
So we can see them when we're dyeing.
Yeah, they're really hard to put in.
So maybe mom should do the safety pin putting in part, but the kids could definitely do the folding in quarters part and the swooping part, right?
Yeah.
Okie doke. So now that this is safely, it's all marked up and ready to go, we're going to put it safely out of the way until we're ready to actually dye, right?
Yep.
Okie doke. On to the next part.
Yeah.
Okie doke, in this section we're going to show them how to make what?
Dye. The dye that we're going to put on the ombre pillowcase.
Okie doke, so we're going to call this the dye stock. Now, the main thing you need, of course, is the dye. which we're using turquoise that we got from dharmatrading.com.
Just like the pillowcase.
Yep. I dye a lot, so I buy great big 8-ounce containers. You could totally just get a 2-ounce container, and that would be a lot of dye. Okay. The other things you're going to need, the most important thing you need is you need to protect yourself from the dye. So we don't want to have stained hands. So what do we wear on our hands, Logan?
Gloves.
Gloves.
I'm wearing
Okay.
purple gloves.
Yeah, and so I have different size gloves because I'm a dyer and I do these all the time. If for some reason you only have one size of gloves and they're kind of big on the kids, what is the trick we learned when we used to do this in nursery school and daycares and stuff, Logan?
Tape.
Yeah. So what you do is if you have a really, so it doesn't work with these because they're fine, but if your gloves were really big, what I would just do is I would just take some
Tape and then tape it.
yep, some masking tape and just tape it around the wrists of the kids. And that would, although their fingers would be floppy, you could still, the gloves wouldn't come off. And so that's a good trick that I've learned from all the dyeing I've done with daycares and stuff. But we're going to take this off because it's bothering Logan.
Yeah.
It would bother me too. Okay, so we've got our hands protected. Now the other thing we've got to protect ourselves from is from the dye powder. The dye powder, if you inhale it, you can develop an allergic reaction to it. So you want to make sure when the powder is open that number one, moms, you need to do this part. And number two, you want to minimize the amount of time that there's dye powder, okay? So Logan and I right now are wearing these dust masks, okay? And you need to wear the dust mask for this part. And again, Mom, you may want to just do this by yourself. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to measure 1 teaspoon of dye into a cup. And then we're going to add some water to it. This is just water, okay? Not hot water, just regular temperature.
It's colorful.
It's very colorful.
Don't eat it.
Yeah, don't eat it.
Probably doesn't taste good.
And it's
Don't feed it to your dog or your brother, because that's just a bad idea.
okay, so there's 1 teaspoon. Okay. And so now we're going to do what's called pasting up. Okay? So I'm going to add a little bit of water. And Logan is going to mix it into a what?
A paste.
A paste. All right, go.
Blue, 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 blue.
All right, and so once the pasting up is happening, we can remove our masks. And we are very happy because now it's all liquid. Okay? So stir, stir, stir. And then I'm going to add some more. Here, stop for a minute.
I'm gonna take a fire.
All right, actually, before I add some more water, just take a look, and there's a couple of dry particles still on the side. So you want to mix that in really well. Okay, now he's taking his mask off too. All right, now mix it up some more. Okay. Now look at the side. Are there particles on the side? Kind of scrape them down.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to add a little bit more. Okay. And so now the best way to get this totally dissolved is to give it a really good shake. So this is an old water bottle with a squirty top. It actually doesn't even have to be a squirter top, but that's what I use. Okay, buddy, put that in the rinse basin.
This?
Yep.
Okay.
And so if for some reason you got dye on your hands, you could just dip them right in the rinse basin. Okay? So we're going to pour this in here.
Now I'm going to give it a good shake.
Logan's going to give it a good shake. But first, let's get some more. Right, the amount of water that you use for this step matters not at all. Okay? Because we're going to end up making a really big dye bath. So whether it's a half a cup or 2 cups of water, it doesn't matter. Okay? But there we go.
Oh, and a word of caution before you give it a good shake, make sure the lid is all the way on. This has happened to my mom once. It was not good.
Okay. Shake, 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 shake.
And you might not want to shake it upside down.
But you could. You can go like this. Shake-a, shake-a, shake-a.
Kind of like you would shake up shooken chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk or salad dressing.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Chocolate milk.
All right. So now, this is all the dye that we need to dye that 1 pillowcase. And it's all safely in here. So we're on to the next step, which is getting all the chemicals that are going to help bind the dye to the pillowcase.
Pachoo!
Okie doke, what are we going to make now, Logan?
Oh, we're gonna make the thingy that makes the dye stick to the fabric.
All right, so what Mommy calls the chemical water, okay?
Yeah.
So we have, what is this?
That is just plain old water in a gallon.
It's plain old water in a gallon jug, and I have subdivided it into thirds.
Yeah.
Because we're going to need 1/3, 2/3, and then 3/3
For
of
each part of our ombre dye.
for the dye bath later on. Okay. So then I put a bunch of water in it. How much?
You're gonna put
Does it matter?
no, not really.
We just put some in the bottom. How come?
Because we need water to actually make a solution.
All right. This is true. We need water to make a solution. If we put the chemicals in the bottom first and then we added the water, what would happen?
It wouldn't work very well.
How come?
I don't exactly know.
Okay. Because there'd be a big clump on the bottom. Do we like clumps?
No.
Okay. All right. So what are you going to add to this chemical water?
We're gonna,
Ah!
Don't worry, I got it.
Okay.
What we're gonna add to this chemical water is this soda ash.
Okay. So at the soda ash, what's the soda ash do?
The soda ash, I really don't know.
All right. The soda ash, that is the chemical that raises the pH so that what?
So that the fiber reactive dyes will stick to the pillowcase.
So the fiber reactive dyes are going to actually form a permanent bond with the cotton molecules. Okay. So this was 1/2 a cup. No. How much was it?
It was.
It was only 1/4 of a cup.
Yeah.
It was 1/4 of a cup of soda ash. Okay. Now, what else do we have to add?
We have to add salt.
Okay. Now, how much salt is this? Here, you do it.
I don't.
It's about 1.5 cups, isn't it?
Yep.
We need a lot of salt. All right. Is this any special salt?
No, not
Just
really. Just salt.
Plain old salt from the grocery store. All right. And so, do you remember what the salt does?
Wow.
It helps push the dye out of the.
Yeah, it helps push it out of the solution and onto the cotton.
Okay.
So without the soda ash and the salt, the brownie colored dye would have just slid off just like a polyester one.
Okay. So now what do we do?
Well, now we're gonna make sure the cap is on just like before.
Okay.
1,000,000%. And give it a good shake.
Give it a good shake.
Shake, shake,
Shake,
shake,
shake,
shake,
shake.
shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Man, it's heavy.
I know, it is heavy, huh? Okay, let me see. Ah, that looks good. And if there's a couple of lumps in the bottom, that's not the end of the world. You could definitely use warm water for this step. That will help. Okay? And so now, we're just going to fill it up the rest of the way, complete with sound effects by Logan. Okie doke. So we now have a gallon of chemical water that has 2 important things in it. It has salt in it to help, and
soda ash, which does not come from burning soda.
It does not come from burning soda, no. Okie doke, so now we have the chemical water. All right, so now we get to put this all together and start dyeing.